Good afternoon, and thank you for those who stayed. Thank you for BTC for inviting me here. I'm doing the research in the National Union of Israeli Students, the NUIS, and also a part of Higher Education Reform Experts Forum in Israel. And I'm going to talk about the social dimension in the field of academic ranking and benchmarking, and mainly present the Tempus project and the social benchmarking tool. So, as you can see here on the roll-up on the site, the ESPRIT project goes for enhancing social characteristic and public responsibility of Israeli teaching through an alliance of higher education institutions and students. And this is a part of Tempus program. It's aimed mainly to analyze and map the social and public role of Israeli higher education institution. This is also, as you can see here, as a cooperation of many institutions, both in Israel and in Europe. And what we intend to do is basically to, first of all, analyze the social responsibility of Israeli institution, but then it's more active part to strengthen the ties between the institution and their communities, and to promote the social responsibility of higher education institution. And the idea of this project was we began to think about those ideas several years ago in the NUIS, and we started to reflect on how to promote social responsibility of higher education institution in Israel. And we came up with the idea of something called the social ranking tool. We began to formulate some initial outline and to even formulate a steering committee, but then the project didn't develop further, and so some of those ideas are part of what now we call the social benchmarking tool, and they became possible only with the help of within the frame of the current project. So I want to talk more why even those issues of interest for Israeli students and the Israeli student organization. What was our main motivation? So first of all, what is perhaps maybe the most important part, we wanted to promote transparency and ethical conduct, ethical behavior of Israeli higher education institution. In some levels, they are not as transparent as we want them to be, and not all the data are accessible to the public. And our organization works in several ways to promote this via legislation. We work with the regulators, but this project was another attempt from our side to do so. And the second is to encourage student engagement with the community through the institution. Because in Israel, the students are, I think relatively to the other countries, are very involved, very social active, and we wanted them to do so with the help of institution, not in separate manner. And also want to say in this matter that we wanted to signal the institutions, the universities, that the days that academia was something of what may be called ivory tower and was like this isolated Iceland are over, and the institution should engage with their community in active, socially responsible way. An additional point is we wanted to ensure what I call fair treatment. Maybe it's not the most accurate term, but here I mean issues like promotion of accessibility, issues like fair employment, maybe even affirmative actions to ensure accessibility and to ensure the university will not become an isolated isle of excellence, but available to the majority of population, to many societal groups. Lastly, we wanted the students who spent many years, important time of their life within the institution, and also helped to finance them by tuition. We wanted them to have say over the institution's agenda, and mainly, but not only, in the field of social responsibility and the field of relation with the community. So, as you can see from the important part of this project is the alliance with students and institutions, and it have also several dimensions, this alliance. First of all, the student, it's almost a cliche to say that students are the leaders of the future, but we of course very much believe in it, and they are not only the leaders of the future, but we also try to to influence and to work for a better future for the Israeli society right now. And I think maybe most of you are Israelis, so you can know the following the social justice protest just a few years ago, you all had the opportunity to witness the power of students and their motivation to work, to influence and to make the society better. And the students are also very much looking for the opportunity to engage with the community, to serve the community, but they are not always have the opportunities to do so via the institutions or in some kind of alliance. So this was one of our motivations in this alliance. And also, as I said earlier, students, we believe that they are an important part of the institution. They are part of the institution community, not only the customers of higher education, but also relevant, very significant parts. They should influence what's done in the institutions. So Moshe said earlier about the 3 central pillars of this project, the Tempus ESPRIT project. So I will not repeat it. I will mainly talk about the third bullet, the third point. That is the part of the project that NUIS was largely responsible over it. And it's the development of the SBT, the social benchmarking tool. And this is something I like to think about it. It's innovative and maybe the first of its kind, because earlier we have heard much about the academic rankings. There are many rankings that measure research, less, but we also have rankings that measure teaching performance, those are the 2 main central components of the academia. But we believe it's not the only components that matter. We believe that also academia has the third role, which is, of course, social responsibility and the engagement with the community. And this tool was designed to measure the institution of higher education according to the social characteristic. Of course, the idea of the third role of academia is also not new. It's been widely discussed and debated, but it seems that nothing proactive was to be done in this matter. So I believe this is some kind of lacuna we intend to fill with this tool, and as it's written here, to measure institutions by their social characteristic. So we have, when we began to discuss, to develop this tool, we have many discussions within our consortium, our participating institutions, about benchmarking versus ranking. Now, I'm not an expert of benchmarking and ranking, so this is a less theoretical perspective than the perspective of someone who is involved in this process and of building this tool. And we're decided in favor of the benchmarking model. And it has also, we have, of course, as always, when many institutions and many partners involved, there are different perspectives, different views. But I think the benchmarking is more suited for this tool, for the social benchmarking tool. And I think it has some advantages which are presented here. First of all, unlike rankings, it's not about cooperation. It's not about the league table of football or ski or something like that. But it's more a tool that allows for cooperation, for mutual learning, for institutions to become better, and not only to compete for the first or the second position. Second of all, it's small, allows some kind of a holistic, systemic view on the system of the higher education system itself, and not only on isolated institution. It encourages a variety of best practices and variety of socially responsible behaviors. So there is not a measuring according to one single standard, which is, of course, would be much different but much more controversial. And it's also have, I believe, the potential for institution self-improvement, when he should not measure himself according to other institutions. He should learn from them and from their best practices in the realm of social behavior, but also he should first of all look upon himself and to try to improve himself. And also the last point is this tool is much more flexible, because this project, it's one of first in kind, so we shouldn't commit ourselves to one standard because it's so new, but we should allow for some kind of flexibility in terms of in terms of the indicators and in terms of how this tool is going to work. So I think it's a very important part. So how this will we work in real life? First of all, this tool will include a long list of indicators which are intended to check almost every aspect of social responsibility of higher education institution, both internally and externally, which mean internally in terms of institution behavior relative to the staff, the faculty, and the student, and of course externally, which mean the institution engagement with his community, which of course can be community in the broader meaning of this term. So this we created with long list of indicators, which I will present a bit later. And the indicators are going to distribute to the institutions. On the first stage, the pilot stage, for only the partnering institutions who's part of this consortium. Later we hope to make it available for the other Israeli institutions. And then this system will gather the data, analyze the data, and after that, we hope to come out with a report who can finalize the data that we collected and to have some to show institution strengths and weaknesses, and have maybe some recommendation for improvement. So that's how it's gonna be work in the nutshell. Of course, we didn't done it yet, so it's basically mainly schematic and theoretic, but that's how we hope that it's gonna work. And what we have done so far in this project, about a year and a half since its beginning, first of all, after a very lengthy debate, we came up with the definition of social responsibility. What does it mean? After all, we decided on the subfields of social responsibility. What does it mean more specifically? We decided to check questions of ethical behavior, questions of well-being, both students and faculty, questions of equality and environmental issues. And after combining the other components of the project, which is the mapping of the current state of affairs in terms of social responsibility in Israeli academia, and the survey, and after doing a long and extensive literature review, we managed to come up with a list of relatively long list, about 90 indicators, which will gonna be this tool, and it's gonna be include all these issues and subfields, and it includes many issues. To be more specific, the indicators will ask about issues like accessibility, like university dropout prevention, like the student support, and also the support of students with special needs, about issues related to gender politics and gender equality, about fair employment, prevention of sexual harassment, issues like transparency, issues like institutions' ethical code and its ethical policy, etc., etc. Of course, the involvement with the community, faculty well-being, green issues, ecological issues, are many issues that we think that are related to the concept of social responsibility, and the issues that our universities and higher education institutions should act accordingly. So these are some sample indicators that you can see. It's by the subfield, the issues, and the indicator itself. As you can see, there are examples from all the subfields that I listed previously, and most of them, as most of the indicators in the list in the tool itself, they are mainly closed answers. We want to get yes or no answers, or maybe a numerical answers, a number, because obviously it's related to the methodological questions and to the process of analyzing qualitative data will be, of course, much more harder. And so those of you who are a part of institution, you can ask these questions from themselves and see how well you will perform in this tool. So right now we are about to begin with the pilot stage, the trial stage of this tool. We will distribute the questionnaire via an online computerized system, which we are working on it now. And the system will allow multiple respondents, because we are looking for large amount of information, and there's not a single member of institution who has all this data. So the system will allow to distribute it between many various people, and also will allow for intermediate results. The process itself, in each of participating institutions, we will have some kind of responsible person. We call it the master users, who will control the process and will hopefully help us to get the information more smoothly. And then it's the part of data analysis, and then we'll hopefully have the final report with improvement recommendation, which on this stage will be available only to the institutions themselves. So, because it's a very initial, very pilot, and then hopefully this process will help us to create a real tool that will be the final result of this project. Will end up about a year and a half. And the last, maybe the most central slide of my presentation: why the institution should adopt the SBT. So first of all, it's something first of its kind. It's probably one of the first in the world and the first in Israel. It's the issues of social responsibility is very much of interest for not only in academia, but also in academia, but of course in business world, etc., etc. It's something that new and excited domain, and we are very glad and very thrilled to be part of this current and even to lead it in some way. And second, it allows the institutions to gain a better understanding of themselves. Some of the institutions, especially the big universities, they are doing really exciting things in terms of social responsibility, and they are not always, even the heads of institutions know what they're doing. So this tool, when they have the final report, they will get the opportunity to know what they're doing, and of course not only to keep this inside them, but to let it out and tell the world how great we are. And this is also, of course, a management tool. It can allow universities to identify inefficiencies. For instance, we've seen that was cases that 2 or even 3 unrelated units in the same institution doing the same thing. So maybe if the institutions will know it, they can save money. And all of this leads to the improvement of institution public image and the attraction of students. Of course, when students decide which university to attend, which institution to attend, it doesn't look only on the social responsibility. First of all, it looks on how graduates are well in the job market, on the research, teaching, and other parameters. But we believe that social responsibility is also important part, and we also believe that this consideration will become more and more important as the years go by, because that's the world we live in. And also it can facilitate the investing. I mean, even in the business world and the corporate world, those issues of social responsibility behavior are becoming more and more important. So we believe these trends will also reach the academia sooner or later. So I mean, we're all institutions live in the situation of tight budget constraints, so it's also can be an important incentive for them to join this tool. So I welcome you to, maybe if you want to ask me questions later, to learn more about the project, and hopefully that the majority of Israel institutions can be part of it at some stage. So thank you.